Michael Davies remains winless. He is the only driver to finish inside the top five every round so far this season. And he also leads the championship. Can he finally make himself this season's fifth different winner here in the Netherlands? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 5 of the PRL GT3 series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Zandvoort has re-entered the spotlight thanks to the rise of Max Verstappen and soon a return to the F1 calendar. To help reintroduce our viewers, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Zandvoort. This track just to the west of Amsterdam fell into obscurity, but is getting new life in recent times thanks to a resurgence of Formula One fans in the country. Back in the mid-20th century, it hosted the Formula One Dutch Grand Prix for nearly 30 years. Granted, it was on a much faster and more flowing layout. Nowadays, the 5 different versions which are available to be run are mostly tight and technical. The shortest one is a little under a mile, while even the longest only stretches to a little over 2.5 miles. These tiny lengths, plus the narrowness of the track and its lack of long straights, make passing almost maddeningly difficult. The 2 most common spots are Tarzan, which is the first corner, and Hans Ernst, which is the final chicane. Even though it has recently been updated in the real world with more banking, even on the old track here on iRacing it has an unusual amount of camber for a road course. The 2 aforementioned turns, along with Hugenholtz and Schieflock, allow drivers to carry more speed than you'd expect. It also gives drivers a chance to take slightly unusual lines. Like most old school tracks, runoff is minimal. Mistakes in a few of the faster turns tend to allow no time for recovery and a big repair bill. Another unique quality is the fact that Zandvoort is literally next to the beach on the North Sea. Therefore, the sand easily blows its way onto the track surface and lessens grip. It's a tricky place to race and even trickier circuit to win at. But with the beautiful surroundings, great history, and a mob of enthusiastic fans donning orange, you can't help but want to go visit this fantastic venue. There's lights around Zandvoort, but of all the different cars we've seen race on the channel here at this circuit, Adam, I have to say the GT3 cars feel very appropriate.
Yeah, Zandvoort is one of the rare circuits on the calendar that feels really like it was built kind of for the GT3, with plenty of sweeping medium and low speed turns and some short high speed runs down to tight 45 plus degree turns. This circuit is always a challenge to drive. Its suitability for the class aside, though, this track is narrow. Much like every other track so far this season, it's extremely hard to pass at. Barring some risky dives down the inside of a few corners in the second sector, the best passing places will be the run up into 12 and down the front straight, so everything else is extremely risky. Add to that a track that is known for extreme tire wear, and qualifying, as always, will be the name of the game today. I'm starting to understand why so many drivers chose the Audi and BMW to drive this season, Joe.
Certainly is becoming clear. Now, before we get to the racing itself, as always, today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at SIMMSA.net. Adam?
The GT3 series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader, ready to compete against the financial markets. Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading performance and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with their software with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Championship well underway as we're getting ready to start the halfway mark of the season. Driver standings has Michael Davies, as I mentioned, up in the top spot. Lewis Goodway about 13 points back with a very close fight between himself and Dan Revito. And then as well, only 2 points separating Morales and Palacio. Palacio, and Goodway are three of those top five who have won races so far this season. Davies and Revito are still lacking in that category. Let's take a look at the team's championship as well.
Yeah, teams championship. We have SimMSA eSports up top still over SRT eSports Blue by 25 points, but Blue brought in just a little bit there in the last round. That gap, though, still at 25 points. SRT eSports Black 58 points back, but Magenta closing in on them, only 1 point behind SRT eSports Black at this time. iRacing is going to be down there in the 5th position, 92 points back of the championship at this time, and they're just around over 33 points behind SRT eSports Magenta, so they have a little bit of climbing to do if they want to get into that top 4 or battle for that final step on the podium, but team standings podium still wide open right now.
Those that have not watched before, just a quick refresher here as we are around 5 out of 10. There's the different cars that you are able to drive in this series. Not all of them are represented this season, sadly, but it's a 40-minute sprint race for these GT3 cars. They are open setup, so they can find some speed out of trying to tweak them to get them as comfortable as possible. They have some penalties, unfortunately, and it's pretty strict, to be honest. Only 11 incidents, and you're given a drive-through. We've seen that bite a few people throughout the season already. It's a disqualification if you get up to 17 even. There's bonus points as well down at the bottom. They're trying to get the qualification bonus point for the pole. But we also want to offer a reminder that you can advertise with us here on GSRC because we offer a wealth of options to get your branding seen on a platform with over 1 million monthly impressions. If you're looking for a global audience to advertise with, look no further than GSRC. We've got our link in the description below with more information. Go check it out if you want your company here on the air. Right now, it is Lewis Goodway, who is up at the top of the warm-up and continues to lead the way in qualifying. Palacio, about a tenth and a half back, and we've still got almost 9 minutes to go, actually. So there's still plenty of time for others to try and dispose of him up at the top.
Yeah, my eyes right now are on Michael Davies. He was second place in the practice session, and he's currently down in 5th. Just did not get a good lap when it came to the traffic. Now, this is an open qualifying session, so all of these 30-plus cars are out here on track at the same time. And while Zandvoort is fairly long, even driving behind any of these cars through these medium-speed, high downforce corners are going to be very challenging for these drivers as he goes past the sleeping Aaron Law. Pete Mabroten going to be the next to cross the line, trying to improve on a 137 flat, and will not. He actually is able to do so, a 36.7. Lewis Goodway is going to come in and get some tires.
Davies, in the meantime, heads back to pit lane to see what he can find there. This is Barry Cochran down in 20th. I'm also keeping half an eye on the 22 of Diego Morales is getting ready to finish a lap because he's sitting in 3rd. He's about 2.5 tenths off of our pole time. As he crosses the line, looks like that must have been an outlap because that one did not count for him. So he'll cycle on around. It is getting a little bit crowded out here because we've got 30-plus cars, and I'm noticing a number of them coming upon traffic even during hot laps.
Absolutely. So as we look at Levi Jepney as he's going across, he's just exiting that final corner, trying to set a good time. Lewis Goodway and Diego Morales have got Pete Mabroten up ahead of them by about 2.5 seconds, so they're going to have to handle him very shortly. Levi has a 138.8 as his fastest time. It's going to be a decent time for him. Our fastest right now in the session, a 135.657 from, actually, correction, a 135.495 from Goodway.
Thurman, who looks like he's on a slow lap, so that one's not going to be an improvement. Can we go look at the 84 of Dan Revito, who sits 3rd in the points currently? He's up to 9th, so he's a little bit down right now. Could probably use a little bit of a better position here, especially with how tough it is to pass. So let's see if he can find anything higher than the 5th row of the field as he takes his Ferrari out of Lyondike and onto the pit straight, one of the few long straights that you have around this track. And that timing line is a ways down as well. Oh, and that one didn't count for him either.
Yeah, that was, I believe that was a warm-up lap for him. We're going to take a look at Sean Macbeth, also trying to improve right now from 8th position, just one position of where Dan Revito is. Macbeth crosses the line of 35.796, so it is an improvement. Macbeth up to 6th. Here comes Jorge Flores, currently in 7th. He just got knocked off by Sean Macbeth. He's going to try and improve his time. He's going to do a 135.668, and that will count as well, so move him up into the top positions as well. Ron Fusi coming across the line. That is a warm-up lap for him.
So Morales gets bumped to the outside of row 2. Their top 2 rows now are Goodway, Palacio, Flores, and Morales. Davies still down in 6th position and trying to find pace himself among these slew of cars that are all out on track. There's very few of them that are in the pit lane currently.
Yeah, Davies has found a pretty nice gap right here. He's got J.R. Williams, another pretty quick driver. He was just a couple of thousandths off of Michael Davies in the practice session, about 4 seconds ahead, so he should be able to get through this lap cleanly. But that being said, this might be an out lap for him.
We're going to look at Raymond Day in 10th place. His quickest was a 36.3, making it 36.1 now. And that will get him up 2 spots into 8th position. Christopher Wines, who's running 13th, not fine improvement that time through.
Yeah, one of the things I'm going to be looking at during the race is that incident limit, as you said, Joe. This track has all grass and gravel runoff, so it's going to be very easy to pick up incidents around here. That 11X is looking mighty threatening for most of these drivers today. Lewis Goodway, another fastest lap up to the pole again.
So extends it. You could see it on screen. Just went purple. So does Davies have a response? No. Still having trouble with those off tracks and can't get a clean lap. And he's only got 4 minutes left. I mean, at least he does have a lap, but it's a single one. And I'm sure he's got more in that car. Sean Macbeth, also another one that is not going to set a time this time by in that 2:52, as that was an out lap. Thurman, as we watch him come out of Hans Ernst.
And Michael Davies off track again. He's going to have one more opportunity to set a good time around this track. It's going to get very stressful for Michael Davies at this point, because the points championship is not too far out of reach for the drivers behind him. Only 13 points behind for Goodway, 17 points behind for Revito. So he's got to be very scared at this point that Goodway's on pole. He's stuck at 6th and he can't seem to get the car to turn.
194 as he heads down to the timing line. 3/10 to make up to get to the pole position. He's not going to get it this time. He was a few hundredths off of quickest lap time.
Revito still trying to improve from 13th. Does go faster. A 136 flat is going to be good enough for 13th. Ninth place. But unfortunately, that's still a little bit too far back as far as challenging for some decent championship points today. But look at that, Diego Morales up to the pole. You said you were keeping your eyes on him, and here he is, jumping up there with a current original pole position.
And 35-1 is going to put J.R. Williams into second. And Lewis Goodway just went into pit lane. He'll have enough time to start one flyer, and that is it. Oh, wow. So he's gone from the top spot down to 3rd in the flash of an eye. Menino, who is in 15th. Let's see if he can find anything there. Nope, 36.5 as the clock ticks down. Let's see, where are some of our front runners on the track right now?
So the cutoff time, look for that to be 135 as far as the drivers who can do 2 more laps. Once we hit 135, then you're looking at drivers entering what will be their final lap. At that point, Brett Thurman going to cross the line, going to start a flyer at this point. Julio Palacio is going to be one who's been very quick in rounds past, just currently in the 5th position. Pretty decent, but with the track position being really important, he's trying to improve his time, looking to beat that 135.657, crosses the line, cannot do so, 2/10 slower, unfortunately.
So Genet, who comes across, has been talking about potentially starting from pit lane during the warm-up, so not sure if he's going to take advantage of what looks like a decent qualifying for him.
And Michael Davies has spun yet again. Unless he can get it going once again, this is going to be big trouble for him starting off in the 6th position, and with track position being so important here. J.R. Williams currently in 2nd. possibly looking at a pole position, but no, he's going to pull into the pits.
Probably a good thing he's practicing that. It is tight to get into there. Meanwhile, this is Raymond Day just behind them in 11th.
And Michael Davies has abandoned his qualifying. I believe he's not going to be able to make it around in time to get qualifying time back in. He's pulling out of the pits, but I think his day is done.
Quicker for Day, but Sean Macbeth into the top 5 in the dying stages of qualifying. Last round's winner, showing he's still got it. What about Flores, who sits in 4th? As we hop on board, you can see how quick this corner exit is and how little runoff there is to the outside. You cannot let the car drift too wide, or else it could spell disaster. As he crosses, it's not going to count. He's going to start his final flying lap now.
All these drivers on their final flying laps. Palacio's going to be probably one of the last ones to come across the line to start another flying lap. But he's actually going to practice his pit entry, so we have 2 more cars on the front straight that are going out of their final flying laps now with 5 seconds to go. Jared Keen's going to be our first one to finish.
Find anything more? No, it does not look like it. Dan Revito, who sits in 9th, is not going to go any quicker. Mabroten is next. The 515 doesn't improve. And then we've got Kenny Rodriguez down in 22nd as he comes up to Kumho, then into Lyondike. One of our Ferraris, who's got a ways to make up to get towards the top of the field, all the way down in P22. Let's see what it is. It's a 36.9. That is his quickest lap, but he does not jump out of that 22nd position.
Raymond Day gets a 36, just 149, I believe. It was very close, but he's not going to be any faster either, and I believe that's going to be everybody today.
And Macbeth actually went faster there on his final lap. I think, did Flores finish his lap? He's still coming around, I see.
Flores is coming around, and Jeannot is coming around. They might be our last ones. Oh, Flores not coming around anymore, unfortunately.
And, well, he illustrated my point right there. You don't want to go off that corner. Genet is indeed slow. So let's go through our starting order here for round 5. Diego Morales takes another pole position as J.R. Williams will start next to him. Behind them, they've got Louis Goodway in P3 with Jorge Flores in the 4th position. Sean Macbeth improving later on up to 5th with Julio Palacio in the 6th spot. Inside of the 4th row, it'll be Michael Davies in 7th with Christopher Rhines in 8th. Dan Revito starts 9th today, and Tony Costello rounds out your top 10.
Raymond Day is going to start off in 11th position with Arnaud Genet starting off in 12th. Ron Fusi starts off 13th. Next to him will be Jean-Marc Tremblay in 14th today. David Menino 15th next to Brett Thurman in row 8 with Pete Mabroten and Brett Barrett rounding out row 9. 19th and 20th will go to David Flanagan and Sammy Bridges.
21st will be Jared Keane with Kenny Rodriguez in 22nd. Barry Cochran, only good enough for P23 today. Neil Alexander to his outside in 24th. P25 has Spencer Simkovich. Aaron Law was 26th and Danny Duchesne 27th. You've got David Stevenson and Ludwig Goffney, the last 2 to put qualifying times in. Gary Schilling and Andrew Benoit were not able to get a clean lap in. Checking to see if they will be racing today. And it looks like Schilling is not here. Neither is Andrew. So we will have a 29 car field competing, which is plenty around here, I assure you, as we wait for the Porsche pace car to start off on this pace lap. Let's take a look at the weather. And it's actually a fairly nice day here just off the coast. 75 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface with 71 degrees air temperature. Be a bit chilly day for the beach, but a nice day for racing.
Yeah, it's actually pretty nice temperatures. Some of the best temperatures we've seen over the last couple of weeks in the service so far. So these drivers should have plenty of grip to play with out there, which will make the packs fairly close together. And that's going to be great, especially for a track that likes to eat up tires like this. So these drivers should have plenty of speed to play with when it comes to trying to conserve tire wear and conserve some fuel for that pit stop today.
We wait for them to get going here. Just a couple more cars that are going to grid up, then we'll get started and underway. This long pit straight is most likely going to be the most common spot that you'll see overtakes, but that's not to say that there could be some sneaky passes elsewhere. If anything, I've almost noticed that in a couple recent races, Adam, it seems like a few people got creative when they could get some cracks in the armor of those that they were battling with.
Absolutely. There are some places where you can make some late dives, such as Hugenholtz, or you can make a late dive into Scheivlock as well if you really feel like it. But it can be stressful to make moves like that, especially around here, because you're carrying a decent amount of speed through those corners. So you have to catch the driver by surprise, but then you have to know that they see you make the move at the same time. So things can get pretty complicated when it comes to making those late moves.
Hoping for a little bit of trust from your competitors. Now, if you want to watch your favorite competitor on track, check out gsrc.tv, where we'll have live timing and scoring. That'll be all race long. If you don't see your favorite driver on screen, just hop over there and you can keep track of exactly how they're doing at any point during the race. Now they work their way through Tarzan. This is going to be such a unique track for Formula One to return to, because honestly, the first thing that I noticed the first time I drove this track in a game is how many corners have quite a bit of banking on them.
Yeah, it's going to be wicked fast. It's going to be one of those tracks that's awesome to see in qualifying. It's just going to be blindingly quick. That being said, for racing, it's going to be very difficult to make passes around here, much like we're talking about with these GT3 machines. But for the F1 cars, it'll be a very different problem, which is with the amount of dirty air coming off the back of those machines and their aerodynamic reliance, they're going to have trouble following close enough to attack when it comes to those late moves like we talked about, Joe. So it's going to be a whole different beast than we're going to see today, but equally as exciting.
Of some of the views that you have around here as the cars weave their way up through Slotemacher and into Scheivlock. And this is another one of those very, very fast corners with quite a bit of camber into it. You can see there, it just dives in. It's very blind as well as the cars enter there. So wrecks that happen there can often have disastrous results if anybody approaches at a high rate of knots. And then, for those that don't know their racing history, we enter the new part of the track. This was not the original bit of Zandvoort that ran when F1 was here back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah, Masters is a corner. You have to carry it.
You're a lot of speed in there for sure.
Yeah, it's just so difficult to get through these corners with any sort of speed. It's really challenging to get them right technically, because you have to carry speed in and out of these corners, because the track, unlike a lot of others with these sharp corners, doesn't really benefit you to really get on the binders and stop in the center of these corners like you do at most other tracks. You really want to carry as much speed as possible through here, because every single corner is followed by a kind of a mini little straight that a driver can take advantage of if you're too slow through the center of it.
A recommendation for viewers, if you want an interesting experience, go look online on eBay or somewhere where you can get used games and get a copy of Grand Prix Legends, makers of the same game here, iRacing, back when they were called the Pirates. They had the old version in that game, as it was in the 60s, and I loved racing that version, to be honest, compared to what we have here today, because it's sort of like a miniature spa with just an incredible amount of fast corners that was just a joy to drive. Hopefully it will be a joy for our competitors today, as they are going to be released very soon. The Porsche pace car is going to hand it over to Diego Morales, but it is not long between that pit entry and the flag stand. So I imagine it's going to be a very fast green flag for him, and he'll want to try and cover off the inside line down into Tarzan. Out of the final corner from Lyondike. Everybody getting nice and stacked up here, anticipating the green flag to wave. And there it is right there. Ooh, and some people got a very poor start. They're starting to already go 3 wide behind them up in the top positions as Morales tries to cover that off way around the outside. J.R. Williams is already threatening, looking to use the banking, but it's just not enough. One car off into the gravel. I believe that's actually our championship leader, Davies.
That is Michael Davies off into the gravel. He is recovered now and getting going once again. But that was some stressful moments between him and a couple of the drivers in front. But once again, everyone fairly clean as we get through and start heading through Slotemaker.
Oh, I think we had one car in the wall, Duchesne, and I see one car stopped, David Stevenson, unfortunately. So some real problems at the back of the pack, but everybody else doing quite well. Up into Masters, into the technical infield portion. Williams is chasing Diego Morales, but he's got a train of cars behind him who have not lost any gap up to him.
Yeah, now is the spot. Now is the time when you want to make these moves. And here comes Goodway right up the inside of Flores, trying to make that move work for the 4th position. He's still got the overlap, but this is going to swap over to Flores having a better run into the next corner. So look at this. Goodway's going to try and swap him over, but Flores covering that off. This is going to give an opportunity to Macbeth to try and go around the outside. Contact between him and Goodway. Goodway's around.
Oh, it's hit. I didn't see who that was, but he's facing the wrong way, and unfortunately, a few are having to scatter, including Ron Fusi, who goes off course. Otherwise, I think he avoided a bigger disaster there. Oh, goodness, was that a horrible one for Goodway.
Lewis Goodway.
The replay of this incident specifically.
Yeah, here we go. So this was, I believe this was, it was just so tough for Davies to try and make, Goodway rather, to try and make that move. And then he just got caught up with the braking. I believe it was Flores behind him.
Catch who hit him. Unfortunately, it was one of the dozens of SRT cars that we have out on track. So we'll have to look at it later as we come back live. Half a second between Morales and Williams. Flores back there after avoiding some of that wreck. He is in 3rd. Actually, no, he was ahead of that wreck.
Julio Palacio just got nailed going into the sharp right-hand corner. The sweeping Shivlock, he's just recovered, but that was a sketchy moment between him and Tony Costello.
I don't know how he saved that car. That was actually a magnificent save as the battle continues behind him. This is Rines, Costello, Day, Tremblay, and Thurman, and they're going to get that settled out with Rines leading the group in 8th position.
Well, this has been an eventful opening couple of laps here for these drivers for sure. A lot of opportunistic moves being made here to try and gain track position, because as soon as we get into these longer runs, it's going to be even more difficult. But as these groups are compressed, this is the time to make your opportunities known. But as we're seeing, those dives, low percentage moves are ending up with high percentage incidents.
Christopher Rines hold off Costello. He's in the BMW, which is not known for its straight line speed typically. Costello looking for the run. Doesn't appear to be there though. And already we're seeing an illustration of how tough it is to try and overtake around you. He does close under braking. So number 8 will probably be slotting that into the back of his mind for later on in this race.
Yeah, Costello definitely has a good opportunity, but one driver who's really enjoying all of this clustered up driving is the leader, Diego Morales. He put in the fastest lap last lap, but he's still only got half a second back to J.R. Williams as Christopher Rines tries to pull away from Tony Costello.
Yeah, as we take a glance at those top 2, Jorge Flores keeping it within about 9/10 of a second, not gaining, but also not dropping, just holding neutral. And that bright green car with the black down the middle, that is Diego Morales in the 22.
And viewers will remember how strong J.R. Williams was last week. Just ended up running out of tires towards the end of that race at Interlagos. So he's got some pace here for Diego Morales. Morales will see whether he can keep it consistent and keep those mistakes from happening like we saw last week.
Davies fell down a few positions. Looks like he's caught himself back up and is trying to recover. He's behind Andrew as we're gonna watch him close in off of Lion Dyke. He could have a good run here. Let's see if the slipstream will be effective enough. He's gaining the ground. It's down to 1 car length between them. He's looking to the inside with Ravito not covering off, but he doesn't get the overlap. Dan will hold on to P5 for now.
That's going to take a lot of courage into that corner if you're Michael Davies that far back from Dan Ravito. And that's just the challenge it is to pass around here. Tarzan's actually a corner you can take some decent speed and braking power into because of how banked it is. When you go into that corner, it's really surprising just how easy it is to turn in because of the banking around here. But that's one of the things that makes Zandvoort such a fun course to drive.
With it, he's not going to let him get away. The bad news is that Ravito has lost touch with those in front of him by a huge margin. It's already over 3 seconds up to Sean Macbeth. I have to imagine Michael can't dilly-dally too long and will probably want to make this move sooner rather than later.
Yeah, he's got to find a creative place to pass Ravito because Ravito's not really covering off any of these moves, but he's also kind of sitting in the middle of the track. So Michael Davies could make an assertive move, but he's going to have to get a better corner exit because that's one thing Ravito's seeming to do well. That's one thing the Ferrari does well in general is rotating through the center of these corners and getting good exits. While it's not the fastest in the straight line, the thing corners like a dream. And so Davies is going to have to work hard to get a good position on Ravito to make it work in these faster sections.
Palacio is about a second back. You can see him there as we watch from the exhaust of Dan Ravito. This isn't quite as close as we saw the last time through down the pit straight, but Davies will still start to gain. If he couldn't make it last time, I doubt he'll make it this time, and indeed, he doesn't even show his nose. He'll just sit in the tire tracks.
J.R. Williams with the fastest lap, still trying to hold on to Diego Morales. It's going to be a challenge for him to do so because we know how quick Diego's race pace is out here.
Yet to get a repeat winner this season in the GT3 Sprint Series. All the drivers who have won once. Oh, I think we had a bobble from Christopher Rines because Costello is very close behind, and Raymond Day is as well. This is back in 8th position. Can't quite do anything as they come into sheave lock.
Yeah, Costello clipped the inside curve just when it popped up in sheave lock. That ended up sending him out towards the center of the track. I mean, this is a train. Look at how many cars are involved in this one. So Costello, he's trying to attack Rines, but he also has to keep an eye on Raymond Day behind him. That's why he took a really conservative line as he went through turn 10. Now as they run down towards Hans Ernst, it's going to be difficult for him to keep Day behind him. You can see how close they all are at this point.
Breaking into this chicane. Still nobody pops out. Everybody just follows. Maybe waiting for the exit of Lyondike. More likely the exit here of Kumho. We really can pick up that speed, trying to keep the foot flat to the floor. Down through the long right-hand sweeper of the final corner. And ahead of them all, Rines is starting to pull away to about 0.7 of a second, giving himself some breathing space. 31 minutes left to go. We're almost a quarter of the way through.
It's unbelievable to say that at this point. It just feels like the race just started for these drivers as they're all just tucked in under one another here behind Christopher Rines. Christopher seems to really struggle to get into this first sector. He loses all that time that he gains and falls back into the clutches of Tony Costello.
The car is just not well set up for the twistier bits. I think we had a problem with Jared Keane. Indeed, he's off track down into Hugenholtz.
It was a self-spin.
Yeah.
It was a self-spin down to Hugenholtz, so he's gotten back going, but unfortunately lost about 5 positions due to that.
Sends him down to 25th as a number of people stream on through. You know, earlier we mentioned about Davies trying on Ravito, but also being able to see Palacio in his mirrors. Julio's closed it down to within half seconds. This is starting to become a 3-way fight.
Yeah, and Davies has got to get a move on because Diego Morales and J.R. Williams are starting to really run away with this. They've got about a second on Jorge Flores, and Jorge's got about a second and a half on Sean Macbeth. So they've got to get moving here because Ravito's 6 seconds behind Sean Macbeth. So Michael Davies, he's getting a little bit loose off the corner. He's trying to carry as much speed through it as he can. He's going to have to make a move sooner or later. Otherwise, he's going to be stuck behind Ravito for most of the race.
Now he tries to go for it, but it's just as they start to break. and it doesn't work out. There is some saving grace for Michael Davies. The car directly behind him in the championship, Goodway, well, we saw how far down the order he went. And actually, he is, where is he right now? He's in 22nd, so he's still got a long ways to climb. Revito is directly in front of him, and Revito is about 17 points back, so he's not going to chip away too badly at that. Morales, who's leading, is a whole 30 points behind him. So while this will take away some of his points lead, I don't think it's a crisis currently.
We're going to take a look at Goodway, because Goodway's recovery drive will be an interesting story to watch on GSRC.tv, and we'll try and cover as much of it as we can here. But Goodway, I mean, he's got to be frustrated with the events that happened. He got, as he was trying to battle up there with Jorge Flores, he unfortunately just got a little turned off the nose of Sean Macbeth, and that's what ended up, he had to park it up. Oh my goodness, that's a late move on Aaron Law right there. Aaron gives him just enough room at the apex. He's going to try and cross over Aaron, but Aaron covers it off. Aaron Law, ooh, he gets loose on braking, so Lewis Goodway's going to try and go around the outside. He's going to get the job done.
Way or another, he was going to make it happen. So Goodway up to 21st, about 2.5 seconds up to Barry Cochran in line. Looking 14th down in the mid-pack. Brett Barrett, this is becoming a trend. Another train forming behind him. Mo Broughton, Bridges, Flanagan, Rodriguez, and Alexander all trailing him.
Yeah, Mo Broughton's been trying to make this pass since the beginning, since the opening laps of this race, and he just can't get it done. Brett Barrett's just putting in the blocks everywhere that he needs to, and this, like you said, this is a trend we're seeing. It's just so hard to pass around here. Even that front straight is just not really giving them any sort of respite. I think Pete's going to have to stick it up the inside at one of these slower corners.
Don't need to go to it, but a quick update. Ron Fusi had a big wreck out of Kumho, hit the wall, and we may have lost Jared Keene, who smacked the outside wall in the same corner shortly after him. Unrelated incidents, however, between them. Oh, and down to the inside. Can he actually get this done? That is a brave one into Masters from Pete, and the 515 sticks it through and is successful. Barrett gets demoted to P15.
That's exactly what I was talking about. At some point, you just gotta take that risk. At some point, you just gotta take away the apex from the driver and just force him to go wide. Brett Barrett's gonna try and come back at him here, but I think that he knows that Pete's a little bit quicker, and he's just gonna back off.
The accordion effect certainly is clogging up those as well. We're gonna look a little bit higher. Let's see where we're headed here. On through the main straight with Revito leading ahead of Davies, and still Davies is not aggressive enough to try and overtake down in the first corner.
They were swapping lines, Joe, through turns 9 and 10 and up to Hans Erst. Davies had a really good opportunity to try and make a move. Didn't quite commit to it, so Revito's been able to hold on. But this is yet another train that's forming. Palacio trying to hold on as well.
Got a pit stop for David Flanagan. I believe that is scheduled, so he should be back out soon. Our trio fighting for 5th position, slipping away from the top runners. Still 7.9 seconds now from Revito up to Macbeth.
Davies is in the best opportunity he's had all day. He's got to try and make something work here. He thinks about the inside, but thinks better of it. Tries to catch Revito napping on the exit of the corner, but Revito able to carry some decent speed through. Davies just trying to size up Revito, but Revito's just holding him off at every single opportunity. Davies can't get good exit speed down, which is preventing him from making these moves.
Close yet so far away. And on top of that, when is Palacio going to try and insert himself into the equation? Let's watch from his perspective. We call this the popcorn position sometimes, as he can just sit back and wait for the action to unfold and then pounce when it suits him right. As they come onto the front stretch one more time. This is looking good for Davies this time. A little bit of a bobble from Revito. He could get it to the inside if he wants it. He does. He's got the overlap he's been looking for. As they come to the braking zone, Revito's not going to give way, though. He's going to fight him the long way around, but it's all for naught as Davies hard-earned. Oh, and we had a problem for Morales. Just as that pass took place, our leader is off in Hugenholtz, and we've got J.R. Williams now up in the front.
Shades of Interlagos for Diego, unfortunately, as Lewis Goodway takes his first pit stop as well. So big developments in the points championship. There's Diego going around right in front of Williams and Flores. Williams now leads.
Gonna watch from Williams' perspective, and this was all his own doing here. Morales just too hot into the turn. Great heads up as he has to go around.
You know, to be honest, Joe, Morales made a similar mistake in a similar style of corner last week. And now we see him once again riding down the 4th position, trying to cool off those rear tires.
Something about those demons have not been exercised as he tries to catch up now. Of course, they could be caught by Davies now that he's free. Revito behind him, kind of pace 75 have in clean air. Revito has Palacio now in there. Julio not able to take advantage like he hoped through Tarzan. Could he get himself a run? Oh, this is not looking good for Revito once again.
Good run from Palacio, but he's going to have to be deeper on the brakes than Davies was as he goes up the inside. It looks like Davies was a little bit slow. He clipped the grass just a little bit on the straight. This is going to be an easy move for Palacio, and he's just going to hold it down on the apex, force Revito to back up. So Palacio up to P6.
2 spots in 2 laps, unfortunately, for Dan Revito, that he has been demoted. Behind him, that train that we were talking about earlier still continues on between Rines, Costello, Day, Tremblay, and Thurman. They're also kind of bringing along Menino, but he seems to be dropping off, and they're losing the caboose.
Yeah, this battle's still tight together. Costello just has not been close enough to Rines to make a move. And at some point, he's going to have to commit to it, much like we've seen with some of the other drivers, just realizing that track position is key, and you're just going to have to move somebody. But the trouble with doing that, especially when you got a train behind you like this, is that you run the risk of opening yourself up to a move, and especially if you're not thinking about that. Oh no, Raymond Day around! Gets too deep into the braking zone, outbrakes himself.
Mechanical grip seems to be at a premium today. We've seen a number of cars just suddenly loop it. Here's the replay on the Ferrari.
I mean, that's why I talked about this being such a good GT3 track, is that the mechanical grip is absolutely of a necessity around here, and these GT3s rely more on mechanical grip than aerodynamic grip, but you have to set it up that way. So it's one of those trade-offs that comes with being in an open setup series, is needing to set up the car to rely on that aerodynamic grip, but if you the mechanical grip, but if you do that, it's going to make you slower down this one straight where most of the passing is believed to be happening.
It's going to be interesting if things wind up as they are. J.R. Williams would be the 5th different winner in 5 rounds. Now, he could be spoiled because Flores is keeping him honest, and Flores has won before so far this season, I believe. Actually, let me double check that. No, he hasn't. I'm sorry, he has not won. So he has another one that could be a first new winner. And then behind them in 3rd, we finally have someone who's won a race so far this season. That's Sean Macbeth.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting as Kenny Rodriguez actually takes his scheduled pit stop as well. So we've had 4 cars come in for regular service. Sean Macbeth is in a great position as we see Flores drop a wheel there. Sean Macbeth is in a great position to try and possibly take a win here. What he can do behind these guys is save a little bit of fuel, and in that case try and go a little bit longer on his final stop and possibly try and jump these guys on an overcut, especially considering the fact that the tire wear shouldn't be that much of an issue today.
God, what, about maybe 8 or 9 more minutes though before I think they're not going to have any more fuel. Tanks probably won't be able to hold that much.
Right, but he's been tucked in behind Flores about this close for most of the race. Sean Macbeth has, as we're on board with him now, so he might have been saving fuel this entire time. We'll have to see how this plays out when it comes to the pit strategy. It's possible Sean Macbeth has been planning this ever since he saw his situation in lap 1.
Watching for a long time with Davies and Palacio, and they've already dropped Revito. It's 1.5 seconds back to the 84, so they were clearly being held up here. and found a little bit more. We've got another couple pitters actually. It looks like Alexander and Cochran are now on the lane.
So the dominoes starting to fall for these drivers. Christopher Rines and Tony Costello, as Costello has had some really great opportunities under braking on Christopher Rines, but he just has not had the opportunity on the exits. This Audi just not liking to get off of these corners quickly. So he's really struggling to get any power down to be able to try and make this pass, but he's been so close under braking quite a few times. You see he just comes right up to the bumper of Rines, but then he can't get the power down like Rines can out of the corner.
Does Rines have the stones to withhold this pressure and keep up, as Costello's certainly trying, hustling that car coming out of corner 10 down into Hans Ernst, and he's not close enough to attack. That is sometimes a place where drivers have tried things, but not really seen much in the way of passes this race among these cars. Now we get back towards the front stretch. This is where Costello, he's got to be good, and he's not. He's lost a lot of ground. Look at how he disappeared into the background on that shot.
When I tell drivers who ask me for tips on driving for road, it's like, they ask me all the time, what's going to get me good positions on road? And I always tell them, master your corner exits. Because if you're thinking about your corner exits, you're going to enter the turn better. You're going to go through the center of the turn better. You're going to prepare better for your line. And that's always going to be what's going to get you a passing opportunity, is getting a good exit on a guy who makes a mistake through the center of the corner and on the exit himself.
Costello's already regained the ground, but now's not necessarily where he needs it. Just has to keep himself planted right behind that BMW. 18 minutes left now. Our highest hitter so far, I believe, is actually Lewis Goodway. Now, I see Genet with a pit stop, but I think he may have started from... Yes, he started from pit lane, so that is why he has some pit timing on his timing and scoring. Rines now very much under threat as Costello gets within about a car length, tries to square off the corner. This doesn't look good enough here.
And we might actually have to head up to the lead because Williams has been making a couple of mistakes here. Jorge Flores has got some great opportunities, but he just can't seem to get this final sector right. So you see he clips the inside going through that final corner, and that just puts him too far back to make a move. But Williams is starting to slip and slide in that BMW like we saw last week.
Three-way fight for the top spot, and we're past the halfway mark.
We're starting to hit lap traffic, Joe.
Uh-oh. That is not going to be easy. There's very few places where this track is not weaving back and forth. Stevenson is just ahead of them in the number 27.
And normally I would say this would be a great time to pit, try and avoid getting into that lap traffic, but Stevenson is the only lapped car. And then there's the next one is Barry Cochran, 30 seconds up the road. So
yeah, doesn't look like traffic is much of a threat based on that for the time being. And nicely done there by Stevenson.
That being said, Flores didn't expect it and actually backed off a lot more. Sean Macbeth almost got into his right rear there on braking, but look at this. Flores with a great exit that time out of the corner. Looks like slow and fast out worked out for him that time around. He's right on the bumper of Williams as they head into Hans Ernst.
He's back to the left out of another heavily banked turn and into Kumho. And in the background, Diego Morales, still about 4 seconds back. Wasn't it about 5 before? Is he actually catching them here?
Yes, he is. He's catching... Oh, no! Flores! Oh, my goodness! He catches the grass on the outside, and he is on his lid.
That is essentially day done. He might be able to get a few repairs and duck back out, but it will not be a decent position. Then there were two. It's now down to Williams and Macbeth for that top spot. But could Morales run them down, because he's down to 3.9?
Well, hopefully Flores is okay after that incident. That's a pretty rough one for sure, and hopefully not a direct drive wheel injury in that incident, because you definitely could get one. But Sean Macbeth has definitely taken up the torch for sure. He's closing that gap on J.R. Williams And he's going to be the next Audi to challenge.
So will we now start to see somebody duck into the pits? Because it's getting towards the end of that pit window. Goodway's still the highest one, and he's down in 21st. But again, many of the drivers in front of him have yet to pit, and we'll be handing him spots back, including Simkovic, who just came in. So that's up to 20th now for the 74.
And this actually plays right into Sean Macbeth's hands. Well, here, oh my goodness, look at this. Lewis trying to get around Danny Duchesne here. Lewis Goodway, he's going to dive it down to the inside and take away the apex. He's just leaving nothing on the floor, trying to make this recovery drive, but he's got so far to go. He's a full minute behind the leaders, Joe.
I think Danny saw the writing on the wall on that one. He didn't defend too hard into that corner and let him through. Up at the front, checking to see, actually in the middle of mid-pack, what about Raymond Day and David Menino for 11th here? This is starting to brew up. Can Day do something about this? Started in 11th position, already down to 12th, down 1. He could get it back. And a poor exit from Menino. In fact, a pit stop from Menino as he ducks away.
And if you're going to get past, you might as well just commit to pit lane and get those first tire and get some fuel in, yeah.
Why give him the advantage of a slipstream down that long straight? Up at the front, Williams holds Macbeth at arm's length by about half a second. I'm starting to see a lot of mid-pack cars have their timing screens light up with pit stops. So looks like it is kicking off. Could be seeing these two slide their way into that pit stop, that pit lane chicane. Hopefully nobody screws it up though.
I would expect J.R. Williams to be the first to bite out of these two, but I would think that Sean Macbeth would come at the same time as Williams if he knows that Williams is coming in, because you don't want to lose the opportunity that draft will give you unless you think you have better raw pace than JR. So it's going to be interesting. Sean Macbeth has a decision to make as far as whether he pits or goes another lap around, because he probably has saved enough fuel to go yet another lap, but we'll find out.
Down Lyondike onto the main straight, and Macbeth is first to blink.
Interesting.
Behind him, nope, Morales is going to stay out. Davies stays out. Palacio does not come in, neither does Revito. So Macbeth is a bit of a lone wolf here. He's decided to play an alternate strategy to many of those around him. Where is this going to put him, though? Is he going to be able to come out in some clean air? That'll be critical.
Tremblay and Raymond Day are the next to come. Bridges is going to continue on through, so looks like Raymond Day is going to be the next, trying to rejoin that battle that he was having before with Menino, so it'll be interesting to see how he comes out in respect to Menino. And
we saw that Macbeth did come out with a little bit of traffic in front of him. It's Pete Mobrotten. Now, that is an SRT teammate, so I wonder if Pete's going to be heads up here and not fighting hard. Let's take a look at Williams. Continues to lead, but still needs to make a pit stop and is in a strategy fight with Sean Macbeth on the opposite side of the track. Down into Hans Ernst, waiting for himself and about 10 other cars to finally come in for fuel.
Now, these drivers are not taking tires, so the overcut could be effective considering the fact that you're driving around with less fuel. So let's see whether or not J.R. Williams has enough fuel for another lap, or whether he's coming in this time. Looks like he's ducking for the pit lane.
Is indeed. Nice clean entry. And where is Macbeth? He's coming around Hans Ernst right now. Pit stops usually clocking in between 9 and 11 seconds. There you see the comparison on screen now. It's actually with Palacio we're seeing.
So it looks like Diego Morales went through. Here comes Macbeth out of the final corner now. Williams at 10.5. He's going to pull out of the lane now. Just now getting up to speed. And there goes Sean Macbeth. Oh my God, they're going side by side. Oh, Sean Macbeth's going to try and carry the momentum through the corner. He's going to beat him out.
Got it. He managed to jump him into the lead by inches. Maybe a tenth of a second slower in his stall, and Macbeth would not have had that spot. Just incredible stuff.
And Tony Costello's going to beat Christopher Rhines out of the pit lane.
That was one we've been watching earlier on as Costello just sneaks through. That as well was awful close. Less than 10 minutes left on the clock. We still have a couple more drivers to pit. Morales, Palacio, and that would be it, as Aaron Law has just come in. So Morales is back to the lead, not in the way I think he would have wanted, unfortunately.
No, on his recovery drive, coming around this time around, probably going to come to the pits unless he's been trying to eke out the fuel. The pit stops have been in the 10-second range, so here he comes into pit lane. Now, I want to note, Sean Macbeth's pit stop was half a second faster than J.R. Williams. So that might have been the difference, Joe.
I could tell if it's short fueling it or if just iRacing's randomness has allowed him to get a quick one that time. We're looking at Macbeth, who should re-inherit the lead because Palacio is also pitted this time. Williams giving chase, but not with an attacking distance, at least for the time being.
Morales 8.8 second stop, so a much quicker stop than these two drivers. It's going to put him out in front of David Stevenson and only 2.4 seconds behind these guys. So he's made up some ground, but it's going to be a hard fight to catch up to them in these last 8.5 minutes.
Re-inherits third place, about 2.3 seconds up to the next car in second place. If he's got good pace, he could maybe chop away at this and try and make an attack. And I see Tony Costello in for what I think is a second stop. I wonder if this is a penalty.
He's still in the lane, over 14 seconds, over 17, 8.8 seconds. This is our longest stop today except for damage. I believe this is a penalty.
That is unfortunate for the SRT's eSport orange driver. Got a long stop here, and now he's finally out after 30 seconds. That doesn't even look like he was giving a penalty for incidents. We're taking a look at 8th place. Jean-Marc Tremblay is in the Ferrari, the number 127, leading the Ferrari of the number 69 of Brett Thurman as they come down towards Hans Ernst.
Yeah, these guys are all tucked into a battle for that 7th position as they're all trying to get together once again. Brett Thurman has been climbing onto the back of Jean-Marc Tremblay as far as the times are concerned. He's definitely closing up to the back of him.
We had a problem with Sammy Bridges. Another self-spin, and a corner we've seen a few drivers do this. Turn 10. He gets it going without hitting anything. That demotes him to 18th spot. I tell you what, Macbeth is looking very strong now that he's up front. It's 1 second back to J.R. Williams. That's the biggest it's been since the pit stop. And Morales, who was at 2.3 seconds, is now down to 1.4. Ooh.
Yeah, so I think Williams is starting to fall back now because Sean Macbeth's been keeping that gap to Morales fairly constant at around 2.5 to 2.2 seconds, whereas Williams is starting to fall back of Macbeth. So Williams just kind of the cork in the bottle at this point. And this is actually going to benefit Sean Macbeth because Williams is going to play defense for Morales at this point, or for Macbeth at this point. So Morales is going to have to do some hard and quick and assertive work on J.R. Williams if he wants an opportunity at this win with 6 minutes to go. And we have a battle in P12 rather. Lewis Goodway making it past Pete Broughton, and that was a very assertive move. Goodway having recovered very well from his initial incident. He was all the way down in P28 at one point, now up to P12 after pit stops.
Take a look at the replay here in a moment. Continue to watch them live down through Hans Ernst. Goodway, with his mistake, is certainly trying to make the best of a bad situation. Here we've got the pass. Just starts to set him up out of Masters. Forces him into a shallow line. Takes a dive up the inside. Nicely done.
Plenty of time for Menino to see him coming. Plenty of time for, for Mabroten to see him coming, so that was a great move.
Interesting note about Beth if he wins. And as we look at the battle between J.R. Williams, because Diego's absolutely caught him at this point, Macbeth is yet to take a pole position this season, including this round, I believe.
That's all the more impressive when you think about how the kind of courses we've been racing and the difficulty it is to pass. He's been making moves in pit strategy. He's been just keeping his nose clean out on track, and that's what's been getting him to be very consistent this season. He's had some unfortunate incidents that he's gotten caught up in, but here up in the lead, he's got his potential to win his second race of the season here with 4 minutes left to go, and Diego Morales stuck behind J.R. Williams.
Had multiple podiums, has the number 252, but he's going to be the first to take multiple wins if he can hold on to this for just 3-4 more minutes, really. Morales now within half a second of J.R. Williams. Closing in. But we've always said it, that old adage that I'm sure some of these drivers hate at this point this season. It's one thing catching someone, it's another passing them.
That being said, Joe, Diego Morales and our championship leader of Lewis Goodway are teammates. So if we've seen Lewis Goodway make assertive moves, I think Morales is capable of the same thing, but he's got to get set up on J.R. Williams a little bit better than he is at this point. He seems to be losing J.R. out of the corner exits, which makes sense considering that J.R. Williams driving that BMW has a better exit. Oh, he's going to make a move now. Diego up the inside. He's going to try and force J.R. Williams wide. It's going to swap over on him. How's he going to handle this? J.R.'s going to take the shallow line. Diego Morales going to try and go around the outside, try and do the over-under on J.R. J.R. gets a not great exit, but can Diego get close enough to make another dive?
That will be extremely aggressive if he tries it down into Hans Ernst. He shows his nose, but he doesn't actually send one in. J.R. Williams will not be shaken. No, maybe he will. He bobbles it off the curb on the inside of Hans Ernst. This is going to give the inside of the next corner down to Diego Morales. And he is by before they get to the front stretch. Maybe this could play in Williams' favor. He could get the slipstream and try to attack him right back as they come onto the main straights. He's trying to pull that slipstream, but it doesn't look like that car is just quick enough.
Watch out, Sean Macbeth. Diego Morales with the fastest single lap speed of the race is now right on your rear bumper with 2 minutes to go. I believe that's going to be 2 to go. This is going to be some stressful stuff for Sean Macbeth now, and Diego Morales has got to be on the charge, but he can't make another mistake like he did before. He's got his championship points to think about still.
I don't think he's anywhere close enough to try and assert himself on Sean Macbeth here. It'll take either a mistake, some traffic, or something miraculous.
Oh, P10's very stressful right now between David Menino and Raymond Day and Lewis Goodway. Lewis Goodway tucked in behind these guys. He wants a top 10 for this race. He wants a point in that column. He's going to look up the inside of Day, but Day is too stuck on David Menino up ahead of him. Lewis Goodway is definitely faster than these guys, but he's going to have to make a move, a desperate one soon on Day. But Day is very focused on fighting with Menino for that 10th position.
Groups sees to see if he can try and squeeze something out of him. Oh, the back into Shevelock. Raymond Day narrowly avoided getting turned there. Did he lose an opportunity? Nope, he's right back on it. And he's out braking the both of them by a huge margin. And that's his favorite spot. Goodway managing to get to the inside. Unfortunately, it's not done. Great job by Day to really power it the long way around. Still, he's fighting as Day pulls the inside, leaves the tiniest of gaps open, and Goodway says, that's enough for me. He's going to put the car in there, and they both somehow get through Hans Ernst. I don't know how they did that with that shallow of a line.
Raymond Day with courage of steel there.
Raw pace from the Audi. But the 252, as he exits out of Ari Leyendijk, is going to take the victory here today, and the first driver to take more than one win this season here in the PRL GT3 Sprint Series.
Diego Morales will come home with second. Jared Williams coming home in third. What a battle up there for the lead.
Unfortunately, it came to tears for Day and Goodway. More so for Day than it did for Goodway, as it looks like there was a bit of a spin and Lewis was able to sneak through. There's Day down in 13th, following behind. Actually, it was a pretty good catch from the number 515.
Oh, wait. Lewis Goodway just made the pass on Menino at the end of the race. Holy smokes.
He run out of fuel? He had to have run out of fuel. He just let him by, it almost looked like.
Well, there's the move that got Goodway past Raymond Day.
That incident with Menino happens all the way at the end, so don't need to stick on this replay. As the last of the cars trickle in, don't think we've got any battles left, as Sammy Bridges is just behind Barry Cochran, and we've only got 3 cars on the lead lap. So we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Circuit Park Zandvoort, where round 5 finally saw a repeat winner in the form of Sean Macbeth, who will certainly do good on his championship hopes and trying to climb up the order. He was followed home by Diego Morales, who is once again left to kick himself for his own mistakes, much like we saw in Interlagos, but a recovery drive to second, at least to minimize the damage. J.R. Williams finished in third behind them. Michael Davies up from 7th and is qualifying to 4th. He really has to work on that qualifying because his race pace is excellent most days. Julio Palacio rounds out the top 5 with Dan Revito claiming 6th place. Christopher Rines was 7th, and Jean-Marc Tremblay, we didn't get to cover him, but how about this, 14th to 8th, with 16th to 9th for Brett Thurman behind him. And then, unfortunately, Lewis Goodway was only able to sneak into the top 10 at the last moment.
David Menino giving up that position to Lewis at the end, whether due to fuel or just letting him by, we might never know, unfortunately. Pete Mabroten coming home in 12th, benefiting off of the spin that Raymond Day got into that ended up putting up him in 13th position. Brett Barrett's going to come home in 14th over Ron Fusi in 15th. Barry Cochran in 16th today with Sammy Bridges, 17th position. Arnaud Genet coming home in 18th. Neil Alexander, 19th. And Tony Costello rounds out your top 20.
First was Danny Duchesne with Aaron Law in 22nd, and Spencer Zemkovich was the last car in the lead lap in 23rd. Stevenson and Goffney were a lap down in 24th and 25th, and then you get to the cars that looked like they had DNS today. Rodriguez, Flores, Flanagan, Keene, and then 2 did not starts with Schilling and Benoff. Looks like we've got our third place finisher ready to talk to us, J.R. Williams. JR, well, you started on the front row, and for a brief while, it looked like you might be able to challenge for a win, but it slipped away at the end.
Oh yeah. So I was just driving on the edge of my abilities that whole race. Pushing the BMW as far as it could go. The track really lends itself to the Audis, and just near the end, you could see my pace was starting to fall off, but theirs wasn't. So yeah, did the best it could.
When you saw Sean Macbeth duck into pit lane, did that worry you at all for the leapfrog?
No, I expected it. It's a really tricky pit entry, and following someone in is really sketchy. So I kind of assumed he was either he was gonna see if I pit, and then he was gonna go an extra lap, or he was gonna pit early. So I was actually my mistake in the pits. It took just a tad bit too much fuel, and yeah, it cost me on the exit.
It's that question. We noticed the half-second difference, and it seemed to uh, be what it all came down to, unfortunately. Still a podium today. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for this one?
Oh yeah. Once again, I'd like to thank my team, the SRTE guys. They're just a great bunch of dudes, and we've really been having a blast with this series. And then the Racing Sim Tools guys, the Raceblock Sim Racing guys. It's just a real pleasure racing with everybody. And once again, thanking you guys for doing this broadcast. It's always a good time.
I very much agree. We enjoy getting to cover it. That was J.R. Williams in third place here today. In first place, we've got Sean Macbeth, and oh no, we've got Diego Morales. Excuse me, as Adam is talking to him.
Yeah, Diego, a great finish today, but I'm sure you would have loved to be up there in the top position. Talk to us about what happened on track today.
Yeah, it was a really good race. Another mistake on my end with this Audi. I'm really trying to understand this car, but yeah, this rear is like really loose sometimes, and you don't see that coming. And when you see you spun. So yeah, really tricky car. I've been victim of this car for some time on this season, but yeah, good race, good recover. I'm happy with P2 here.
Yeah, and Diego, talk to me about how hard it is to pass on this track because it sure seemed like just getting held up by J.R. Williams might have taken the opportunity away to battle for that win at the end.
Yeah, sure. It's really hard to pass. So when I got the pole, I was really happy because I knew that I could drive and try to defend the P1. But yeah, I made that mistake that cost me some positions. So yeah, it's a really tricky track to pass. So yeah, I'm happy with P2. I got like that overtake on Junior on the last laps. So yeah, it was still fun race to me.
Well, Diego, is there anyone you want to thank for this second place today?
Yeah, I want to thank my team and everyone that's supporting me, my family that is always watching. Yeah, on to the next one, guys. Thanks for you guys for streaming us too. It's been really fun so far.
That was Diego Morales, our second place finisher, and Joe has caught up with our first repeat winner in the series, Sean Macbeth.
Indeed. Congratulations, Sean. But I'm going to start with a bit of a contentious one. First lap, and you had contact with both first and second in the points championship. Is there going to be some awkward talks in the SRT team after this one?
I don't know. The start was a bit chaotic, um, so I think there's a lot of confusion there. The moment with Lewis though, he left the door open, and so I took the shot, and I don't know. I felt like he kind of cut across my nose a little bit there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I know the first lap gets reviewed, so yeah.
It's difficult to call, even though I've gone and looked at it myself. But you've gone from fifth to first, and what at a track that's kind of notorious for being difficult to pass at. What's the secret?
I don't think there really is a secret here. You're right. It is really hard to pass. I just kind of got lucky. Well, not lucky, but unfortunate for my teammate. He spun out in front of me, and then Diego had his spin too. And then I just happened to get JR on the pit stop. I think I must have had a better in road than he did and a better outlap. So yeah, that's pretty much all it was. There was no actual car to car passing except for what happened on the first lap.
Round, we're going to have a very similar situation over at Olton Park, a very diabolical track, and honestly, a lot shorter. What are your thoughts heading over there?
I love that track. Olton Park is so much fun. I think it's a great racing track too. There's actually a lot more passing zones than people really think. It keeps you on your toes, and you got to be careful with your moves. But if you do it right, you can make them stick, and you can work your way up through the field. Obviously, qualifying is going to be just as important as it has been all season long. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I hope that you have a good race back when we head to the UK. And again, congratulations on win number 2 this season.
Thanks, guys.
Sean Macbeth, our victor here today, and it's going to close us out for interviews. We want to give you a quick reminder before we head out that you can advertise here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We've got a link in the description below where we've got more information on how you can get your company on the air. Big thank you to our sponsors, though, NinjaTrader, who can be found at ninjatrader.com. Also to SimMSA, who can be found at SIMMSA.net if you want to check out Simulation Motorsports Affinity. And then, of course, Butt Kicker, who can be found at thebuttkicker.com. Thanks goes to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And as well to June Lalonde, who gives us all of our wonderful music. See the screen for how to contact her. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Our social media is Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, a merchandise store also linked in the description below is simply gsrc.storeenvy.com. The next race, as we mentioned, will be at Olton Park. That'll be Monday, October 26th at 9 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on our screen here. Check those out and mark them down on your calendar. If you want to join us in just a few moments, we're heading off to California for Auto Club, the California Speedway. That'll be the Porsche Owners Club racing there at 10:45 p.m. Eastern tonight. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.